Hello and welcome back, Squirrel Nation. I hope you're all having an outstanding day. Today's video is going to be all about Liliana. It's going to cover her counters, it's going to cover the hero she counters, it's going to cover build, Arcana, just everything I could think of I packed into this video. I took all this from all the feedback that I got from doing the Natalia guide, and then also the poll that I recently ran on the channel. So please let me know your thoughts. I want to know if you like this format better or if you like that short and sweet Natalia format better. Anyways, with that said, let's dive into the video. Starting off with Liliana's weaknesses, Liliana is very squishy. Her wave clear is not great compared to other mages, and she's very micro intensive. The reason I put that as a weakness is because when a hero is very micro intensive, that means that it's harder for you to pull focus to other things like macro, watching the minimap, that type of stuff. CC, she's also very vulnerable to CC because of her squishy nature. Okay, strengths. She's very mobile, which means she can roam around the map very quickly and get to ganks, get to team fights, right? And she can choose to be a poke hero when she's in human form, or she can do quite a bit of burst when she uses her ultimate to switch into fox form and drop multiple sets of abilities. And then finally, her last and probably greatest strength is her outplay potential. Because her ultimate has an iframe and because she's so mobile and she has the option between poking and burst, like melee burst damage, that it gives her a lot of potential to outplay heroes because she is so versatile. With the weaknesses and strengths we just covered, let's move on to what heroes counter Liliana and what heroes are countered by Liliana. So, heroes that counter Liliana are Alistair, Cricknack, and Quillen. These are the top three that pop in my mind, and the reason they counter her are for slightly different reasons. So, Alistair has very fast wave clear, so he is going to be able to beat Liliana into roaming and doing other things on the map because he will always clear the waves quicker than her. Second thing is he has very strong CC, so when Liliana gets caught by him, she is very likely to die. Cricknack does very well against her because Cricknack can jump on top of her, and Liliana can outplay him if she has her ultimate up by switching forms and using that iframe. However, Cricknack, I'm going to assume players are of equal skill, and Cricknack will be able to land on top of her. So anyways, if Cricknack lands his ult, that's going to do huge burst to Liliana, and then Liliana can switch her form to make distance, or she could use her dash if she's in fox form to make distance, but Cricknack also has follow-up dashes in his kit, so he can stay on top of her and burst Liliana down very quickly. Another thing about Cricknack that kind of counters Liliana is one of Liliana's major strengths is her mobility. She can move very quickly around the map, but at the same time, Cricknack can do the same thing because of his ult. He has insane mobility. Quillen is kind of the same type of counter as Cricknack, but the thing is, one, he can be invisible and he can get next to a Liliana and backstab her before she even realizes he's there, and then like we said, Liliana is very squishy, that will burst her down quite heavily, and then when she tries to disengage with her dash mechanics, then Quillen also has multiple dashes that in his kit, so he can actually keep up with her even though she is quite mobile. Okay, on to the heroes that Liliana counters. So Liliana does a very good job of countering Kali, because Kali's weakness is her mobility. When she has her shield on, she is faster, however, Liliana can easily catch her still, and Kali is quite squishy. So if Liliana drops her full combo, which we will cover later in the video, then Kali is going to be almost dead, if not completely dead. Liliana is very annoying for Elsu for a few reasons. One, Elsu needs to land snipes, and it's very hard to land snipes against Liliana because she is so mobile and she has multiple dashes in her kit. Two, Elsu is, when he goes into snipe mode, any stun will actually counter his snipe. It will pull him out of snipe mode. So he sets up for his snipe and he has to wait that time to get his snipe accuracy. And then if Liliana throws out her stun, then Elsu will actually just have wasted all that time sitting there, and then plus Liliana is going to be able to throw out quite a bit of damage onto him. Another thing is, in team fights, if Liliana can get a Reiki shot down on Elsu, it's going to make his life really hard, because Elsu, his auto attack range is actually close compared to other mages. So if he's having to run away from a Reiki shot, it's going to take him a lot longer than it would other mages like a Violet to get back in distance to do auto attacks. And the other thing is, if he tries to snipe, if he tries to snipe and a Reiki shot's coming at him, he's just going to get hit, period. So that's Elsu. Raz is a high outplay potential mage, also like Liliana. So once again, I'm assuming equal skill level. So if you have that, what's going to happen is Liliana can simply outpoke Raz. So Raz does have his S1 to poke at, but Liliana can do her S2, S1 combos, right? Stun him, hit him with AoE, and clear the minion wave. Whereas Raz will struggle to clear the minion wave with Liliana, because what Raz wants to do is he wants to S1 use his passive and then his S2 on the minions to clear quickly. But as soon as he gets next to that minion wave, right, then Liliana can S2, S1, and she's going to hit him with all of his minions at once. So it's going to just create a headache for him. So basically the things that Raz does, I think Liliana does a little bit better. So that's why she tends to counter him out in my eyes. Okay, so moving on to hero synergies. So Liliana, the way that her S1 works is, especially in human form, is if she hits multiple enemies, it does extra damage. The way that her Reiki shot works is it's very slow moving, it has long cast time, but if it hits, it is one of the highest damage abilities in the game, and it also does AoE damage. So it's one of the highest damage, and it's AoE in a small AoE. So that makes her very strong synergies with heroes who can collapse the enemy team into tight points. So Yevnith can pull all the enemies together using, I believe it's his S1, it might be his S2. Mina can obviously hook enemies and then ult them, and Grok can get the hook into ults, and Grok can frequently ult flicker and quite catch at least 2 or 3 heroes. So when that happens, if Liliana throws out her S1, that's going to be big damage, and then if she dives into Fox form, hits her S1 again, that's another huge AoE damage, and then she can even dash through that whole group of heroes and then shoot a Reiki shot. And if she does all that, she's putting out insane amount of damage into that tight space, and with these heroes who can group the enemy team, then they are all going to take huge damage. So anyways, those are some synergy things in Liliana. So stages of the game, I wasn't quite sure how to format this, but and it kind of messed up there, so apologies for that. So early game, I count level 1 to level 3 before you get alts. Mid, I count as soon as you get alt to about level 12, and then late game 13 to 15. The reason I say late game, my distinction for mid to late game is when people are starting to finish their builds, they're starting to get to max level. So to me, those are kind of what's section out the different phases of the game. So early game, Liliana is okay, because she doesn't really have the things that make her great. The things that make her great is that mobility, that iframe in her ultimate, that ability to go into fox form, go into human form, and have different damage styles. But before she has her ultimate, she doesn't have access to that, so she simply is a poke mage, and her poke's not super strong, her stun is not super strong, and it is also very skill shot oriented. So early game, she's okay. She's not bad, but she's not great. Mid game, she's starting to get good. She has her ultimate, she's getting, so now she can take advantage of all of her combos, she can move around the map well, so she's definitely a good hero mid-game. The reason I say not great is Liliana does scale quite well with items, so actually that's why late game I label her as great, because when she starts to get to max build, when she's got those good items on her, then she starts to really hurt. So if you are sieging outside of the high ground tower, or your team is being pushed into your base, Liliana late game, right, when she's max build, she's max level, she can do huge damage to the enemy team, right? If she throws out that S2 stun into her S1 AoE and hits, 2 or 3 people, she can easily chunk them down to half or more of their health. Okay, so basic build. So I'm just going to give 2 examples. One is a set and forget. What I mean by set and forget is if you are not somebody who adjusts your build when you're playing, just take this top build. Orb into Gilded Greaves, Boomstick, Hectates, right? Okay, just go for that. This is a good cookie cutter build. It's a good build if you're not going to touch, if you're not going to adapt, you're not going to do anything in the middle of the game. If you just want to play Liliana and not have to worry about buying anything, or if you just want to click your auto buy, use the top build. if you are somebody who likes to adjust your build based on what the enemy team is doing, the bottom build is better. The boots can be switched out to whatever you want. These are the boots that are there for right now. You don't have to stick to them. You can update the boots also. I probably should have just put the boots as the normal boots, but anyways, I'm not going to get hung up on that. So Phoenix tier, my rule is this. If I get early kill, okay, or I just know that I'm going to be able to snowball in the game, I will only get the Phoenix tier, and then I'll start building into my later game items. If I know that I'm going to fall behind, or if it's going to be a very close game and it's very likely to go late game, then I will build Orb. The reason is that Orb needs time to get all the value out of it, right? It needs that time for your AP and health to scale up. So if you are snowballing heavily, Orb actually is going to stop you from snowballing because you paid for something that needs time to stack up its benefits, just like a jungle item. So that's why I call this adjustable. So that Phoenix tier may or may not turn into Orb. These boots can be whatever you want based on what the enemy team is doing. Boomstick you're going to want, and then the Spooky Mask you're going to want because that Spooky Mask is really gold efficient. It gives you AP, like a lot of AP, 100 AP, and then also 75 Pierce, which is going to help you get through early game whatever the enemy team is building to counteract the fact that you are fed. And then the other stuff just scale up. The Spooky Mask, when you're done with this, right, you would upgrade the Spooky Mask into Staff of Null, and then you can sell Phoenix tier if you didn't upgrade it into Orb, and you can buy a 6th item. Okay, enough said. So Arcana. So Arcana are something that are interesting to me. I think people put more focus on them than need be because I don't think they affect a game as strongly as people make it seem. So anyways, I'm just gonna give you a framework for how to think about Arcana. I think all 6 of these are viable. Like, I can understand somebody running these like 10-10-10 or some sort of mixture, you know, maybe like 5-5-10 something, whatever. But so I can understand these being used because of the stats they provide are beneficial to Liliana. So this gold number, the 48 on Hex right here, is the gold efficiency. So it means if you were going to go buy items and get those stats, that's about how much gold you would be spending. And if you notice, Gorilla is like very gold efficient, Benevolence is very gold efficient compared to Devour, right? But then you have to ask yourself, are all these stats useful? Attack speed on Liliana, how much does that matter to you? My playstyle, it doesn't really matter, right? But the HP from Benevolence, the regen, and then the movement speed, that's nice. Like, all those things are nice because Benevolence gives good sustain. So if I look at Devour and I see the ability power is nothing, I don't really need it. We talked about the stages of the game. Liliana's not that strong early game anyway. She's okay. So Devour, to me, I'm not going to give up that gold efficiency is not worth the amount of gold efficiency that I'm giving up compared to Benevolence is not worth it. Whereas Hex and Flurry, you can just kind of choose which one you want, right? Do you want those cooldown or do you want that magic pierce? To me, yeah, it just depends. Okay, I mean, I'll show you in my next. Okay, so what I go with is I go with Flurry, Violate, and Benevolence. So to me, this is just a good general Arcana set. If you notice, I don't own all Arcana, and I use general sets. I only have 3 pages open, so I do tend to use general sets. So for those of you who don't have tons of gold, who are new to the game, I think this is a very good general set for mages. Like, there's not a mage it's really bad on. It's not the optimal, like, super mix and matched everything, but it's not bad. So anyways, general Arcana. So I believe this is our final thing, and it is what to practice. Okay, so I don't want to overwhelm, so I'm just going to give you 3 things that if you really master them with Liliana, you will definitely go to the next level with her. One is her iframe. Her ultimate is an iframe. What an iframe means is it is an invulnerability frame. So what it lets you do is you can actually dodge tower shots. You can dodge people's ultimate. The way that you practice that is go into hero trial, turn off the cooldowns, and then simply walk into tower range and then use your ultimate so that you don't take damage, and just keep practicing that, and it will get you used to the timing of using her iframe. That is very, very, very important. If you master that, your Liliana will be significantly better, because imagine you can dodge a Kriknax ult, you can dodge another Liliana, you can dodge all types of things, you can dodge tower damage, so you can tower dive and get out even with low health. So anyways, iframe. Second thing is, and this is just your bread and butter, S2, S1. S2 is your stun, S1 is your AoE damage, so bam, S2, S1, you should be able to throw them out quickly, precisely, land the stun, land the AoE. Once again, go into hero trial, turn off the cooldown, and just practice S2, S1 on the Thane and the minion wave. So your goal should always be to hit the minion wave and hit the hero. So S2, S1, bam, 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 bam. Okay, anyways, enough of that. So here's a little bit more complicated thing. When you are in human form, you can ult into fox form and close the gap, okay? So you'll ult into fox form, which will put you, and your goal is to be on top of the enemy. So you ult into fox form, you're on top of the enemy, you're gonna use your S1, which is the kind of AoE damage around you, and then you can use your S2 dash to actually create space between you or the enemy, and you can either do that towards their side of the map, like where they would want to run away, or you can do it back towards your side of the map if you want to disengage. And then you can Reiki shot, which is the S2 again. So your dash will convert into Reiki shot if you hit a hero. So anyways, you're human, you turn into a fox, you hit S1, do big AoE damage, you dash through them, and then you Reiki shot. A couple seconds after that, you'll actually be able to ult again, or depending on your how much CD you have at that point in the game, and you can actually go back into human form, stun them, and do your S2, S1 combo, and then if you hit the S2, the Reiki shot's very likely to land, and the S1 lands, and that's basically going to kill anybody in the game. But anyways, those are the 3 things I would practice if I was you. Those are just important fundamentals of Liliana. And anyways, that is the last slide, and that does it for today's video. Hopefully you all recognize I took a lot of your advice in the comments and the different polls that I put out during the week, so I hope you guys do enjoy this new format. As always, please give me feedback. Please let me know anything else you would like me to cover in these hero guides. And as always, have a great day and happy ranking. Take care.